From time to time, I get pastors, bishops, apostles, different people who look at what Rhema is doing, look at the ministry, and they really want to be a part of it. They're excited about the work that we do, what we stand for as a ministry, and they want to join with us. They come and ask, Ewan, can we partner with you? Can we form some form of affiliation with you? And generally my answer is no. And sometimes they're surprised because they're doing great work in the ministry as well, in the gospel. And so they're similar in vision to us. So why wouldn't I want to partner with them and so on? Well, the answer is very, very clear that I want to explain on this video. Whilst you may be doing great work and by all accounts, right, helping a lot of people and everything is good, nothing wrong, nothing funny about it and so on and so on, it does not mean that I should join forces with you. Why would I want to join forces with another organization which will have their own different sets of values and principles, ways of working, procedures, what they stand for may be similar, but different in other places. What they teach or preach may be different in some other places and so on. I don't want to get into bed with other organizations and have to find out later, oh, I didn't know this about you, or you didn't know this about me. No, I'm very happy to work with other ministries, other pastors, but not affiliations, not partnerships. Okay, I've been given a very clear vision, a clear mandate about what my calling is, what I'm supposed to be doing, what my purpose is for the ministry, and I'm getting on with that as fast as I can. I don't need to jump into bed with other organizations and say, oh, we're going to work together. There's various reasons for that. One is if something happens in your organization that's not too good, something very negative, it's going to rub off on me. Okay, it's going to be like this negativity, this controversy, this bad stuff is in the media, in the press, in the talk of the town, right? If I am toe-to-toe with you, working together, two organizations closely aligned, then that stuff is going to blow over on me because I am the one that's working with you. We're the one in partnership. I don't want that. Why would I want that? Okay. Now you might say, well, it might be a controversy, something negative in my organization too. Well, quite rightly, because people are people. I could have somebody do something wrong in my organization and it may reflect badly on yours. Same thing, I acknowledge that. I don't want to, and I don't need to go into affiliations and partnerships. Now, I'm always very careful of that anyway, because I remember reading in the Old Testament, this would be in the book of Joshua, when they were driving out the pagan nations that was in the promised land, and they were going to take it over. Now, let me give you some background. So the background was the children of Israel, right, were going into the promised land as they were promised. Okay, Moses had died off, right? He had died now, and Joshua had taken over. And his job now was to lead the people across the River Jordan into the promised land. But of course there would be many nations there that lived there who didn't want to be ejected, okay, because they were living there. Now, because of what the reputation of the Israel army was, but not so much the army, the reputation of Israel's God. Because that was the thing. Because people in those days believed that if there's a battle, two nations, two groups of people having war, the side that wins, the victor, it means that their God was stronger, more mighty, more powerful than the other nation's God. Yeah? Because that nation who won obviously had the greater, more powerful God, which is why they won. Okay? So they attributed the success in battle not only to the skill or the size or the might of the army in question, but also the people's God. Now, because of what happened with the 10 plagues in Egypt that people knew about, it's not something that was done secretly in a corner. This was news around, okay? Because of what God did with the 10 plagues in Egypt, because of what battles, when Moses was alive, he had a couple battles and won, okay, and got some land on the eastern side of the River Jordan, okay, and 2.5 tribes said, we want this bit, and they occupied that land, okay, and they were coming now to cross over. This is now under Joshua's leadership. They were now coming to cross over Jordan to take the territories, okay. First one was Jericho, and they took Jericho. That's another teaching. We must learn about that one. It's marvelous what happened there. And then Ai, or I as I call it. There's 2 letters, A and I. They won that battle as well. So these things was happening. So the reputation of Israel, not just the armies, but Israel's God was mighty. What happened was, one of these nations looked at all this and say, how can we defeat Israel? How on earth could we go to battle against these people? Look what they done to the mighty city of Jericho and defeated them and took the city. Look what they did to Ai. But look at what they did to the most powerful nation on earth, Egypt. Look what they did. Utterly destroyed Egypt's armies. Pharaoh drowned in the Red Sea and all that. How can we fight these people with such a God? They realized they couldn't. There's nothing they could do militarily to come against Israel to defeat them and their God. So what did they do? They cooked up this scheme. These people, by the way, were called Gibeonites. So the Gibeonites cooked up this scheme. So they send ambassadors, people who were going to fake a story. The story was that they come from a very, very, very far place. Long journey. Miles away. Because they had heard of the God of Israel and they wanted to be associated with that God. They want to worship that God too. And they come on to be friends with Israel. Okay? Because they knew that, and everybody knew in those territories, that Israel was coming in, was crossing the Jordan to come into the promised land, right, to come into Canaan, to subdue it, to take it over, to govern it, to live there. That's their land. They knew they couldn't fight Israel. So they pretend they came from outside of that territory, outside of Canaan, from a far place, far country. And now they're here, tired after all this long journey. You can tell how far we've traveled. Look at our clothes. It's torn, it's dirty. Look at it, because we've been traveling for so far. Look at the shoes on our feet. It's all worn out and looks how terrible it is. Because the miles we had to cover, the journey was so long. Look at the food we had. Look at the bread that we brought to sustain us on the journey. Look at it. It's full of mold and so horrible. You can't eat it anymore because we've been traveling for so long. Please, can we form an alliance with you, a league with you, come with a partnership with you. We want to be your friend. Can we have a peace treaty with you? Now, that sounded all good, but that was a ploy. That was a deception, because they didn't come from this miles and miles away, this long journey. No, they were just down the road, literally, right? But they pretended they came from afar. Coming from afar means that they wouldn't be one of the nations that Israel would have to fight to get their land, right? Joshua now and the leaders of Israel did not consult the Lord. They didn't consult the Lord and said, Lord, these people, the Gibeonites, have come to us and they want us to enter into a peace treaty with them, right? In those days, we're talking about blood covenant. It's serious stuff, right? You don't break it. They didn't go to the Lord and ask the question, Lord, should we do this or not? Yeah. In Moses' time, it's easier. Moses could just walk into the tent of meeting, right? God was in there, talk face to face, commune together. Moses wasn't around anymore. Joshua didn't have that privilege. But what Joshua had at his disposal was his relationship with God, because God came to him and spoke to him to encourage him when he took over from Moses. Right? So he heard God's voice and spoke to God, so he could talk to God himself. But also, the high priest on his clothing had what we call the Urim and Thummim. It's a way of getting an answer from God directly. And so they could have asked the question, should we, Israel, should we enter into league, into covenant, into a partnership arrangement, right? Into an affiliation, into a peace treaty with these Gibeonites? And there was two stones. One would be yes, one would be no. And so when you ask that question, one of them would light up. Like either the yes would light up or the no would light up. And that's the answer come from heaven. Okay? God is answering through that. Right? They didn't do that either. They just thought, that sounds reasonable. You know? We're new in the territory. Let's make some friends. Let's do this. Okay. And they signed this peace treaty with them, confirmed it like I said before, covenant is a big thing with them. You don't break covenant for any reason at all. It's a very serious thing. So they entered into it. Later on, they found out, Joshua and the people found out that these people lied to them. They didn't come from miles away. They cooked up this story, made it all up, total fabrication, so that they can deceive Israel into forming an alliance with them, into league with them. Now that that was signed, the deal was done, right? In those days, in that generation, in that culture, you don't change it for any reason, right? Israel now, who had the instruction to go into the promised land to remove the pagan nations that were there, now, one of those pagan nations that they should remove, these Gibeonites, they couldn't anymore. Why? Because they already formed an alliance with them to protect them. If anybody come to them to try to fight them or anything, they will come to their rescue, you know, because they're in league. They'll fight for each other, right? Militarily, they'll fight for each other, defend each other. They're brothers. And so that alliance, which shouldn't have been, was done because Joshua and the people, the leaders of Israel, didn't consult the Lord. They just heard it and thought, yeah, why not? Sounds okay. Let's make friends with these people. No harm done, you know. But the problem was they disobeyed God in doing it, because now they couldn't carry out God's commandment. Yeah. So I mentioned that story to say I'm always wary of people coming to me saying, oh, Rhema Bible School, can we partner with you? Dr. Denny, we see what you're doing and your teachings are so wonderful. We want to be in partnership with you. Like I say, I will work with them. In the gospel, we'll do things together. We might, work on this project or that project together on the same platform to preach the gospel in the crusade. Things like that will work together. But to officially be in partnership with another organization, different to ours, oh no, we won't do that. So that is my explanation as to why Rhema Bible School, Rhema Bible Churches International, we're not entering into partnership arrangements. Okay, it doesn't mean that we don't believe you, we don't trust you, we don't want to, we think something's fishy, something's funny about you. None of that stuff, right? It's a blanket policy. We don't enter into partnership arrangements for the reasons that I've given. So I hope you understand it and acknowledge it. And also, this is good advice for you too, because others may come from time to time and ask you to go into league with them, into partnership with them. Can we affiliate with you? You must then decide. How do you decide? Not like Joshua and the leaders of Israel at the time, who just said, yeah, okay, sounds reasonable, sounds good. You look like a honest fella, we like you in your suit and your tie, you look respectable, you got a degree, you got a big church, you got books written, you seem to have a reputation, everything's good. Yeah, let's do this. No, don't go by that. Don't go by the sight of the eyes, okay? Go by the Spirit of God. You go in your prayer closet and ask the Lord, Lord, should we do this? Should we go into covenant with these people? Should we affiliate with these people? Okay? And, if you have a relationship with Christ yourself and you pray sincerely and look to heaven for an answer, the Holy Spirit will give you the answer. He will lay something on your heart as in, oh no, don't do that. Or yes, give you the green light. You feel the assurance in your spirit that this is right. And then you do what God says, what the Holy Spirit leads you to do. Prayerfully is how you do it. So it's not just somebody who says, can I do it? And it sounds good. No. Do it according to how it should be done, which is seeking the face of God to have the green light or the red light to this partnership arrangement. And whatever Lord wills and says, you do it.